This is a conspiracy. That's what this is.
Just begging to course its way through your veins.
Let's just for a moment speculate, shall we?
You're into comic books, aren't you?
I'm a nerd.
But you do like comic books.
Comic books aren't just for sad nerds anymore.
Do you think we need one more?
Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Do you think we need one more?
Objection, calls for speculation, move to strike.
This is a bad idea. This is a bad idea.
All right, we'll get one more.
Spectators, a comic book podcast with Jake and Jesus.
What's going on, all you deep-fried spectators out there, and welcome back for another episode of Spectales. I'm your host, Jake. I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it gets funnier every time I see it. Hosting alongside me, as usual, is a man whose beard was cast as the leading role in John Carpenter's 1982 sci-fi horror classic, The Thing. That's right, I'm talking about Jesus. What's going on, Jesus?
Fun fact, the beard was also recast for the 2011 remake of The Thing. And unfortunately, I told them no twice. So that's another fun fact. Two fun facts right there.
Was it a scheduling conflict? Is that what it was?
Yeah, and they kind of wanted to, mess with the beard, trim it here or there, do different angles. And, the beard does what it wants, man. Was
the beard in that Quentin Tarantino movie, Hateful Eight? Was it like the lead in that as well?
It wasn't the lead. But if you look around, I think it's 37 minutes and 26 seconds. Don't quote me on why I know this off the top of my head, but you'll see me there.
The beard, right?
The beard, yeah. Yeah, the beard.
Yeah, right. All right. If this is your first time joining us for Spectales, thank you very much for giving us a listen. Spectales is a comic book podcast that asks collectors and creators, what's your Grail tale? Each week, we explore new stories about the comic book grails we love, the epic journeys behind how they were obtained, and how they inspired new creativity.
We also dive into some comic book speculation and how, as collectors, we can help the hobby pay for itself.
Now, this week, everybody, we've got a lot going on. So much time and so little to do. Wait a minute. Strike that. Reverse it. We actually have a lot of stuff to talk about. We've got something new, something interesting. Hey, we promised you guys at the beginning of this season, season 3, that we're going to throw a couple of curveballs at you. This week is no different. We've got another little curveball. I hope everybody enjoyed our conversation with Philip Kennedy Johnson last week. We've got another amazing guest coming up next week. I'll tease that at the end of the episode. But right now, we've got to do something we haven't done in season 3 yet, Jesus. What is it?
It's the Scars Army Roll Call. See, that was all by itself. No button again.
Yep. No buttons here, guys. That was all original sound effects. It just happens when we say it. But the Scars Army roll call for everybody. I think it's hilarious, by the way. We've had a listener text us or message us on like Instagram saying like, hey, you guys are saying scarce wrong. And the answer is no, we're not. Scarce is how we say it.
I think they're just listening to it wrong. If you kind of,
yeah, you're putting the wrong inflection on the wrong syllable. I think that's how that phrase goes.
That's exactly.
Anyway, so the Scars Army roll call is when we get a new patron. We get somebody to sign up to support the show over on Patreon. We get a new patron. This week, Jesus, who are we thanking? Who are we doing the roll call for?
We want to welcome new patron James Daniel McCoy. Thank you for joining the Scars Army. We really appreciate it. Appreciate you supporting the show. A lot of stuff on Patreon already, including floppies every month, and a lot more to come. So we really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James, and everybody out there listening. If you're interested, we are actually, with all of the jumble going on with Twitter or Threads or Blue Sky or just all the social media and the algorithm BS. Jesus and I are actually going to start putting more content over on Patreon. We've already started doing that, just regular posts, and we're not talking about just membership only stuff. While we are trying to always improve and increase our Patreon only content, we're starting to also just put regular posts like what books we're reading, things like that, over on Patreon, because you can follow people there just like you can on social media. And I know they've recently revamped to try to emphasize that. So we're going to do the same, because there's a lot of people where they follow us on Instagram. They're like, I never see your post because the algorithm, it doesn't let me see it. It's like, well, that's kind of BS. So if you're interested in seeing more of our stuff and you want another app you can download to follow, you can certainly go over and download the Patreon app. And if you want to support the show for $3.99 a month, you can support the show. It does help us do really cool things like create new and improved JJ stickers. Everybody gets, we love making more and more JJ characters. And stickers, so everybody gets those. And it also allows us to do some interesting other cool things. So if you want to support the show, that's a really great way to do it. And also, last pitch. I know we got a lot to get to, guys. Last pitch. But if you are a regular listener on this show, and you have not done it already, we would really appreciate it if you go over and give us a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really does help the show. The more positive reviews we can get, the more likely Spotify and Apple are going to recommend it to other people. And we want to get more listeners. We're pretty greedy, mostly Jesus. I'm not as greedy as he is, but we all want more listeners. And so that's a way for it. So if you haven't yet, please go over there and give us a quick 5-star review. It would be insanely helpful. Thank you for that. Now, the last thing that we need to tell everyone. Wait, what?
You said that was the last thing earlier. Now you're adding
that was the last
thing.
pitch. This is the last bullet point.
Here we go.
You're getting into semantics. I don't think it's necessary. And we haven't even gotten to the plot twist of this episode. So we got to get through this. We are attending a con, Jesus. We are officially attending a con, and it is happening this month, the month of October. Correct?
That is correct. October 20th through the 22nd. Jake and I, it's going to be a first appearance. We'll be in a first appearance of us together, right? As a team, in person, live. We'll be at the convention in Dallas called Dallas Fan Days. It is a comic book convention, but it's also for, pop culture, anime, cosplay, a lot of stuff there. But we will be there as Spectales in full force. So we're giving you guys some notice about, I don't know, a week and a half notice, maybe 2 weeks notice. If you're in the surrounding area of Dallas, stop on by. Stop on by, check us out. We'll be around. We'll be walking around, giving away stuff. You know how we do it.
That's right. We're going to be in Dallas. Jesus and I have never actually met in person. I know it's weird for all the listeners to hear that. We've always just talked via the internet. So this will be interesting. I'm also like 5 foot tall and he's 8 foot tall. So we're going to look extremely odd next to one another. But we'll figure it out. We'll take a lot of promo photos and things like that. And actually, towards the end of the episode, listen in for some special things we might actually be giving away at the con. Might be some fun stuff. Some of these new ideas, I don't even know if Jesus has even heard yet. Yeah, I'll do that to him. But let's get to the plot twist of this episode. And we're going to introduce somebody who we're not introducing as a guest per se, right? This is not a guest who's going to, regale us with his Grail tale. And that's because he's already regaled us with a Grail tale. He's joining us today as a host, as a guest host, and that is the one and only Mario Candelaria, the writer and creator of Killcella. He's been sitting in the back, smoking a lot of cigarettes, waiting to come out here. Mario, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm sitting back there like it's the Joker, just chain smoking cigarettes and twirl dancing my way out. What's going on, guys?
What's going on, man? We're excited to have you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for being. And it's funny because, Jake says you're not a guest, but technically it's still guest host. It's still in the title, right? So, yeah, man. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for helping us out here on this episode. And like we mentioned to the listeners, man, we're tripling down and doing things different. And we're just excited to have you because it's the first time we do something like this.
Thanks. Yeah. I'm happy to be part of your experiment. Let me do the Wildcat offense, right?
Yep. You're Ronnie Brown.
Deep cut.
Deep cuts only, guys. The truth is, Mario, we wanted to have you on because this is a listener submitted Grail Tale episode. Our listeners are fairly familiar, and if you're new to the show and you've not heard our listener submitted Grail Tale, it's very fun and easy. We get listeners who want to tell us their stories, so we tell it on the show. But in this particular case, Jesus and I were both concerned that just us alone wouldn't be enough to quench the thirst of our listeners anymore. And that in order to really show them and quench that thirst that they have for grails and comic books, we had to get a big gun in here. So that's why you're here. I hate that we lured you in under false pretense, but that's why you're here.
Hey, I mean, sure, Weapon X style, use me wherever you need, and then wipe the mind afterwards, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, that is so that's the big surprise for this episode. Pretty excited about how this is going to go, especially when we get to that listener Grail Tale section of the show. But we can't really get there unless we do the first segment first. So let's do it.
Recent pickups.
That is the recent pickup segment. So let's go ahead and get this thing kicked off. Hey, Zeus, what do you got?
Oh, man. If you guys have been following us on Patreon, you guys have seen that I have been reading a ton and catching up even more so. Sometimes I post on Twitter, X, whatever it's called now. Sometimes I post on Instagram. But I've just been reading a lot, man. Been having fun with comic books again. And so I wanted to talk about two books. One a number 1 and number 2, and then one a 2 that I've been waiting for. The first one I'll talk about is this book. I talked about it maybe a couple weeks ago. I
saw what you have. I'm very excited right now.
It's called Sacrificers. This is issue number 2. I mean, this artwork is just dope. It's from Rick Remender. I remember talking about it. I don't know, a few weeks ago. I don't know how the order's going nowadays, but I was excited for this book to come out. Issue 2. Issue 1, I told you guys, is kind of like a lot of world building. There's not a lot there, but it is interesting. And like I mentioned, Rick Remender said that he's just going to let the story breathe. He's not going to do it how it's normally done. And obviously he has the cachet, the name to be able to do things like this, which is really good from a storytelling perspective, because he just lets it unfold. And I can tell you right now, this book right now is really awesome. The artwork is awesome. And the story, I was like following it along. I was like, okay, it's just setting it up. I already know what's going to happen. And then there's a twist at the end. So in issue 2, you already get a twist. I'm really enjoying it. I have it on my pull list. Can't wait for issue 3 to come out. Rick Remender, artist Max Fuimara, and Dave McCaig in, I guess in either letters or colors. I'll check it in a little bit. So that's the first one.
These colors. Yep. Fun note on that. I literally picked up issues 1 and 2 today, and I remember your recommendation. But funny story, I was in my LCS today, and I asked the owner. I was like, "What's selling right now?" And he goes, "Not a lot. The big 2, obviously, they're selling a few." But in his store, he was like, "The Sacrificers actually is selling really well." I was like, "The Sacrificers?" He's like, "Yeah, it must be Rick Remender's name or whatever." But he just straight up said he's sold a very good chunk of those books, and it was surprising to him because in the same breath he was saying that he doesn't sell a lot of some of the other, unless it's a part of the big 2. He was like, they don't, some of these they don't sell, at least in his store. And he said he was shocked how well this is selling, number 1 and number 2. So that's something to watch, everybody.
Yeah, when I picked mine up on Saturday. It was the last one on the shelf, and the guy told me the same thing. The LCS owner was like, "Hey man, that's selling. That's the last one." I wanted to see if they had any variants, because on the first one I got a couple different variants that just look cool, real cool artwork. But there was this is all I got, which was just I guess the A cover, which is still, I mean, a pretty dope cover in itself. Yeah, so yeah, pick it up, guys. Have you heard about it, Mario? Has it been on your radar?
Yeah, I see the pressers come out for that stuff. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but yeah, definitely check it out now that you guys both recommended it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Jake, did you read it already or not yet?
I have not. I literally just got it today, which is why I was just tickled pink when you brought it up. I was like, oh yeah, I get to talk about it now. So, but that's not even my recent pickup. I'm doubling down, and I shouldn't be. I'm sorry, everybody. Jesus,
right.
you got a second one, right?
Yeah. I got the last one. This is one of the ones that I posted on our Patreon. I was pleasantly surprised with this book, and I'm talking about the Schlub. So the Schlub number 1 and number 2's out already. I don't know if number 3's out yet, but so I'm a little late on it because I got 1 and 2 at the same time. I picked it up. It's from writers. So I kept saying it was Stegman, and Stegman is a writer on there. But it's also from, there it goes. It's also from writer Stegman and Superboy writer Kenny Porter, and they team up with Beef Bros artist Tyrell Cannon, and it features colors by Mike Spicer, which we know Mike Spicer's one, the guy who does Daniel Warren Johnson's like almost everything he does. So he's a great colorist, and letter and design by John J. Hill. So it's just a really interesting premise. I mean, it's interesting at the same time. It's not that it's been done, but different types of the same premise have been done. So this is a little bit different. But you know what it reminded me of? I was thinking about it right now. The artwork.
What did it remind you of?
So I'm gonna tell you this, and you're gonna be like, no, that's not. Don't say that. That's blasphemous. How dare you say that on this podcast? But I feel like it's a very lighter version of Ultra Mega, kind of. There's just so much.
That's blasphemous.
There's just so much detail. There's so much going on. This is a 2-page spread that hits you in the mouth right off the bat. I mean, there's just so much stuff going on with it. And
it's a badass spread.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. It is a badass spread. I don't know that you know what? I have to give it a fair shot. I'm gonna have to take a look at it in person as a human.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be hard for me to put it anywhere near the Ultra Mega level.
Yeah, so I just say, well, yeah, I mean, like I just say that's why it's like a lighter version. Like Ultra Mega is more like adult oriented, darker themes. This is lighter. This is more, comic booky per se, like superhero stuff. But I'm just talking about like the artwork and how there's a lot of fighting, right? There's a lot of fighting Ultra Mega.
Okay.
And there's just a lot of like the colors, the action just keeps going. It keeps like, moving the story forward. That's what I mean when it's like Ultra Mega light. Like it's just that's kind of the vibe that I got from it. Very well done. I'm hooked on it as far as like it's just entertaining. It's just fun. It's like I don't have to think too much about it. I just get to enjoy it and kind of see where it goes, and it's interesting. So the Schlub 1 and 2 is already out. I think 3 comes out on October 25th. So
nice.
It'll be out soon.
Yeah, they got time.
Yep.
All right. Well, what a wonderful job you did on that. That is another valiant effort by Jesus to earn himself 3.5 tater tots this week. Jesus, congratulations. Well done. Yeah, Mario with the golf clap going on. This is
3.5 out of 3 taters. I'll take that.
No, I don't. That's not how that plays.
Wait, you make stuff up. I just made that up. Why doesn't that count?
Oh, because it wasn't me who made it up. And that's how it works. All right. Mario has no idea because last time you were on Mario, we didn't have the tater system going on, which totally forgot. We mentioned Mario, you're a guest. If individuals want to go, Mario was on our show twice, actually. He did the Halloween special episode with us last year. And then on September 28th of 2022, we dropped a full episode with Mario talking about Killcella, and that was a lot of fun. Great episode, and we even had James on, James Ferguson, the editor of Killcella, another unorthodox episode of Spec Tales. We don't usually have a writer and the editor on, but we did it. You're kind of an anomaly yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to, really say it. I don't like to be put in boxes. And as soon as someone puts me in a box, I'm like, hey, let's find something else to pivot to keep them guessing, right?
Do not put Mario in the corner. That's what we've learned. All right, yeah. So everybody who thinks he sounds familiar, it's because he did an episode with us on the September 28th of last year and the Halloween episode of last year, which are both of which are very worth going back and re-listening to if you have not already heard them. So Mario, I should have done that pitch earlier. I was flustered. There was a lot going on, pitching Patreon and things like that. I'm sorry. What is your recent pickup?
Yeah, so this one is from San Diego Comic-Con this past July, but I got the exclusive Lovesick hardcover.
Oh, nice.
I think it was limited to like 300 or 400. It's a little not safe for work, as you can see right on there. But Luana Vecchio did a really great job putting together this series on the dark side of the web. And, I've known her for a little while now through, social media. This was a book that originally came out through Comixology Submit many years ago in the original Italian. I think it was like a 4-issue series, but it's something that she wrote and illustrated. And, last year it came out for a 7-issue series through Image. Massive issues too. I'm talking like 30 something pages each. They put out a special hardcover just for San Diego. And I was, when I found out I was going, I was like, all right, after the Hellfire Club, this is the number 2 thing that I need to, make sure that I do while I'm in town and pick it up.
That's
supporting
awesome.
friends, but also, it's a really good looking. I like having hardcovers now instead of just trade paperbacks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you can get a hardcover, and that one only 300, that's what we would call a scarce book.
Yeah.
The word doesn't come up that often, or often enough is what we should say, but it's scarce for sure. And by any chance, you didn't mention it, so maybe this is just going to add salt to a wound I'm unaware of, but is it signed?
Yeah, I do have a signed,
Nice.
what do you call those things? Book plate from it. She had only a few went to San Diego through the Image booth, and the rest went to her art rep. I want to say Cadence Art.
Mhm.
So and then they just did online sales that way. She did remarked versions for them as well. But while I was in San Diego, I was like, hey, you got to support someone and show the company that she can make sales. I had to ask for this. It wasn't out because it's a little uncensored, so they had to hide it underneath the table.
Oh,
Really?
wow.
Even at a Comic-Con, they were censoring it.
Yeah.
Oh, man, but that's like a speakeasy, right? If you know the password, you can get it. Yeah.
Afterwards, I think later on, as the weekend went on, they had a copy out, and they just put post-it note over the naughty parts.
Parts is a plural.
Yeah, it was really secret. Like they couldn't promote it also on all their press releases because of the content. They cannot promote adult-oriented materials for the convention. They can have it for sale. They just can't really advertise it like that. So
that's the con rule. Really?
I think so. Yeah.
Huh.
That's very interesting. That's very
That's
interesting.
what Luana said.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That is interesting. To be well, and obviously Twitter has no rules. Well, I don't know. That's a hard one a line to toe. But Twitter does not have rules against showing things like the cover of that book. So I was seeing that visual all over the place, all over Twitter.
Of course, yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's the regular trade version is slightly different than this. It's just like a slight variation on what it is, but it's a really good series. I look forward to seeing what she's doing next. I know she just did Harley Quinn, or Harley Quinn Black and White, I want to say.
Yes.
And I think there's a couple other series. I mean, we talk every now and again, because I have some other projects I want to see if she can be involved in. Like she did a cover for Kilchella before she really blew up. But that would have to be the one pick that I have received recently.
Cool. Isn't that like you guys know me, I love to ask craft questions, and I think this is one of those. But isn't that like bittersweet, man? Like you're looking for these artists that obviously have great talent, but maybe they haven't like hit the mainstream or hit it big yet, because when you're making indie comics. And we've talked about this at length too, Jake and I, even on this podcast, that it's incumbent on the writer to kind of be the project manager and get everybody on board for a project. So you're looking for these like lesser known with really good talent, and you want them to do certain things, or you ask them to do certain things for you, and they agree, and they like your project, and then they do it, and then they blow up, and then you're like, oh man, like is like, am I still gonna be able to, because I love their art and they already did something with me? Is that like bittersweet for you?
Somewhat. I mean, people's success is, we all have our own path, right? I'm like, take me with you, but I know I'll get there eventually on my own, right? And then other people will be hitting me up feeling the same, like, hey, this guy, take me with you. Don't. I think the only real person really on the ride with me is James Ferguson. But, yeah,
Well,
what happens. I mean, honestly, I have another story just like this that's coming up in my spec corner for my pick. Another person I've known for years who's blown up to megastar levels now. Who has a book coming out and also did a special cover for me for Kilchella as well, because we've known each other for a while.
yeah,
It's just it's always just finding people. When we're all kind of orbiting the same general thing, you start to really gravitate towards people who also have the same, like drive and buzz, and they can sense that you're going to make it. You can sense that they're going to make it if they just keep at it. So it really is just perseverance at that point.
yeah, and it's funny you say that, because we talked last week basically with Philip Kennedy Johnson, and we started kind of seeing parallels, like, because he worked with a guy named Steve Beach for a comic that he wanted to do, and he talked about, which was about a U-boat in the World War II, and how it was like a horror, and they were trapped in a U-boat and stuff like that. And he worked with Steve Beach, and now he's doing obviously the Hulk and I think Action Comics or Green Lantern as well. And Steve Beach is doing some covers on that, like for all of those. Like, he's also a DC artist, and now Philip Kennedy Johnson is a big two writer. So it's some of those people that you like go through the journey, like you mentioned, with, that you end up on the other side with. So I think that's pretty cool. But I'm excited for you. I want to hear more about that. I know you probably can't tell us too much about the project you want to do with her, or maybe are in the works, but very looking forward to it.
Thank you. It's funny. Phil followed me on Twitter ages ago before he blew up, and every now and again he'll like respond to one of my posts or send me a message like, "What is this?" And I'm just like, "Aren't you busy? Why are you messaging me?" Like, how do you know who I am still? I don't know. But
he's a nice guy, man. Really nice guy.
It's like once you start working with Jim Lee, it's like you kind of start to lose jabronis like me along the way. But sure,
All right. Well, Mario, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna award you 4 tater tots for the recent pickup, because we all learned a little something about the con system and the censorship going on at cons. And I know that Jesus and I value education. Jesus and I value education over everything, including Jesus's recent pickups. And so I know he wouldn't argue with me one bit by saying that you deserve 4 tater tots.
Not at all.
For that thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, if it's a family-friendly, family-orientated, all-ages event, right? You kind of want to shy away from what you have out there. So it makes sense.
Yeah, and it does. It feels to me like there could be, and maybe that is the compromise, right? The compromise being like, oh, hey, you can sell it, you just can't have it out on the table.
Yeah.
But hey, to each their own. But thank you for the education on that. I'm going to go ahead and go with my recent pickup, and I'm going to thank Philip Kennedy Johnson for sending me on a journey that started recently. When we talked to Philip Kennedy Johnson, he was telling us all about the Hulk run and a lot of the inspirations for the Hulk run. One of which was the series The Crooked Man. No, I'm sorry, not series. Excuse me. It was a Hellboy story called The Crooked Man, and I, when he said that, I was like, oh yeah, I want to. It's a short. It's a like a one shot. Called The Crooked Man, or Hellboy The Crooked Man. And so that was I was going to go and just grab that specific story to read that. And then I realized that while I have read pieces and parts and portions of Hellboy, especially when the original movies were coming out, I was reading those way back when. But I had never read, beginning of Hellboy and like worked my way through all, like, it's a lot, right? There's a lot of Hellboy out there. And it's kind of a meandering series. Like it comes in and out and things like that. But I decided to start with Hellboy, Omnibus Volume 1. And I am not all the way through this bad boy yet. There's like, I don't know everybody out there listening, but if you can, oh yeah, those are pages. There's a lot of pages there. But this is my recent pickup. It is my recent effort. So I got this, and I will say, I'm going to go through it. After, I feel like I'll feel better about it. I'm going to read the first omnibus, and then I did also pick up the complete short stories, Volume 1. So this is Mignola's, all of his short stories with Hellboy. And this thick-ass book does include The Crooked Man, which is one of the short stories. So I'm going to do the Volume 1 of the omnibus, and then I'm going to cheat. I'm going to come over and I'm going to do this so I can get to The Crooked Man because I want to get there faster. And then I'll go to Volume 2, and we'll see how long it takes me to get through the omnibuses. But it is a journey I'm going on, and I'm bringing all you listeners along with me, and Jesus, whether you want to or not. So that's my recent pickup. That's the thing I'm talking about here. And because it was inspired by Philip Kennedy Johnson, who was, just one of the coolest guests we've had on since September 28th of 2022. I think I have to give myself 4.5 tater tots. I don't think it's a 5 tot, but it's 4.5. So, Mario, you're nodding your head like, hell yeah, that's a 4.5, right?
4.5. I mean,
I saw him say no. I saw him shake his head like no. But...
That's a lot of reading. That's a lot of homework. I'm not gonna lie. You're looking at decades and decades worth of material to get through. Yeah. So why wish you luck?
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. If there's anybody on this podcast capable of taking on something like that, Jesus is the guy. Unfortunately, it's me doing it. So we'll see. We'll see how I do. I have the attention span of a sparrow. So,
well, man,
what do you got, Jesus?
Well, I mean, that's an awesome recent pickup. I also started reading The Crooked Man. I just skipped to The Crooked Man. I haven't really read a lot of Hellboy, but I wanted to see what he was talking about. And Mignola, in my mind, was always known as the creator of Hellboy, and he always drew him. So to find a story where he doesn't is just pretty cool. So I read it as well. And for that, I'll take away, 1 tater tot from you, Jake, because I also read it. So
you're going to take away a tot?
Now you're 3.5. And so Mario, our guest host.
So Mario ends up winning the round.
Oh, don't give me favoritism.
I can concede to this. This is fine. And Jesus and I, in the very unlikely tie. This is unprecedented. This is like the Washington Commanders beating the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Right? Am I right, Mario?
Commanders are kind of garbage. So that'd be sad.
Yeah, no,
losing right now. I see the screen. 17-3 against the Bears.
Oh man.
Yes, I'm watching football. Spoiler alert! I'm watching football.
Yeah.
Surprise.
I'm watching it with the side eye on my fantasy football, and I'm getting demolished because he has that wide receiver. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. He's got more.
Yep.
Oh, I have more on my starting lineup as well. Listeners, the comic collective group out there just went, I'm sorry, what are you guys talking about? That's fantasy football talk for everybody out there. Don't worry, this is not a fantasy football podcast. This is a comic book podcast where we ask collectors. No, we already did that part. Okay, so we've gotten through the recent pickup segment, which actually means we get to do the best segment that ever been created in the history of comic book segments.
Grail Tale. Grail Tale.
Grail Tale.
Grail Tale. Grail Tale.
the Grail Tale segment. And this one is especially special because we are going to be reading listener submitted Grail Tales. We have 2 listener submitted Grail Tales this week. But before we really jump all the way into this Grail Tale segment, if you have a Grail Tale yourself and you would like to hear your Grail Tale on Spec Tales, I don't know if everybody out there has heard this, but we've actually offered, we're offering a reward for Grail Tales because we
Bounty.
like talking about them. Yeah, bounty. And so it is a poster. So let me get it just for the viewing pleasure of Mario, because I've already seen this. But this is now this is actually one of this is one of our. God, we have to come clean. We actually have a printer error on these. It is supposed to say, "I want your Grail Tale," and the artist are Jesus and I, the printer. This went through everybody, and nobody saw it. And Mario, I think, saw it instantly.
I want your Grail.
Your Grail Trail.
Oh, I can. It's cut off on my side here. There. Oh wow. Okay, that is.
That is a very bad mistake on our part. Listeners out there, I mean, we've got what is the phrase, Jesus? We got pudding on our face. What do we have in our face?
We have cream of corn.
Yeah, the egg pudding.
Well, Grail Trail looks like. Sorry, what?
Cream of corn.
Cream of corn. Yeah. So. Don't worry, everybody. If you actually sent us your listener submitted Grail Tale, we have the correct posters printed up and ready to go. And you either are going to receive it or have received it already. But those are going out. But the poster itself is glorious. It's awesome. It is JJ Uncle Sam, and he's pointing at you saying, "I want your Grail Tale," not Grail Trail.
Well, Grail Trail is awesome because that's like the end of Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah,
all
the
these
Grail Trail
awesome things, just so many of them lined up.
We now actually need to make Grail Trails canon, which is the trail you take to get to the Grail. How did you? Yeah, I mean, technically, we want you to take a Grail Tale to your Grail to give us the tale,
or your haul of stuff.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Or your
some people have massive collection rooms. It's like, all right, from one end to the other, let's check out this Grail Trail.
Oh man, we got it. Yeah. Oh, you know what? When we start doing our version of MTV Cribs, where we're going into people's Grail dens, we will say, "Take us on your Grail Trail to your Grail den." We're gonna turn this lemonade into gold somehow.
If they're doing it right, they have a presentation, right? They have to.
Yeah, exactly.
You lead up to the big thing.
Well, if you're a listener out there and you want a cool poster where the words are all spelled correctly, all you have to do is send us a message. You can email us, spectalespodcast@gmail.com. You can go to Instagram. You can message us on there, or Twitter. We are still available in that area. Or you can go to Patreon and message us there, which is free. You don't even have to be, you can follow us. You don't have to be a paid patron to message us there. All of which are ways that you can get a hold of myself or Jesus. And for your Grail Tale, we will give you a free poster. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody.
It's a win-win-win.
So yeah, it's a win-win-win. Anyway, we've got 2 Grail Tales we have to talk about. We've got to get to it. And the first one is going to be coming to us from Brett. Now, Mario is going to read this one for us, and we'll all react. But this one is coming to us. It came from Instagram. Brett, who is a big listener of the show, we certainly appreciate Brett for listening and for getting in on this Grail Tale submission. If you're interested in following him, his profile, he posts a lot of fun comics and just things like that over on Instagram, and he posted about his Grail that we talked about. He is N2TN Comics, or Neighbor to the North Comics. But you can find him by looking up Neighbor to the North or N2TN Comics. He is Canadian. He is one of our Canadian friends. That said, Mario, you want to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. So Brett writes in, saw your Grail Tale post. It started 3 years ago with not knowing what I wanted to eventually acquire. I had a UF4 that I traded for an Edge of the Spider-Verse 2, Something is Killing the Children 1, and Young Avengers 1. Then, a year later, I traded that Something is Killing the Children 1 for a Malibu Sun 13. Then, a couple weeks ago, I traded Edge of the Spider-Verse 2, Malibu Sun 13, and X-Men 266, which I bought in an X-Men collection, from my earliest X-Men book in my collection to date, X-Men number 4, CGC graded 2.5. So, in retrospect, I ended up trading a UF4 and 266 for this book. You never know where the journey will take you, Brett.
All right, so Brett's Grail, which I think is one of the best X-Men books ever created, by the way. X-Men number 4, which is the first appearance of the Scarlet Witch, first appearance of Quicksilver, Toad, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Like, there's a bunch of great firsts. It is a sweet cover, Magneto on the front, a lot of good stuff. Anyway, I think that it's cool that he got his Grail. It's cool that he was able to make trades. I always love when trades are involved when it comes to a Grail trail. You guys don't get to see the picture, and we'll share this picture to our Instagram as well. But the picture is like it's a man. The book is loved. It is well loved, is what I'll say. You guys can each check your text pockets, and you can see a photo of the book. I just sent it to you, which Brett had shared with us
on his.
On his IG.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple things. It has 39-cent stamps on the front of it, which it's a 12-cent book. So it was resold at some point for 39 cents to somebody, which, I mean, come on. Even
that's a good 330% markup, right?
Yeah. it presents really well, man. I've always liked this cover. Second appearance of Magneto, which, him, front and center on the front of that book. It is a Grail, man. A lot of people like this book. A lot of people want this book, whether it's low grade, mid grade, whatever. It's still an awesome book. So, thank you for sharing that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. This is a book I'd love to have in my collection. Don't have it, and I think it's certainly worthy of it. And there is a nice little signature on it. I think it may just be the owner of the book, right? It's written in the X, but it is. Yeah, there's this. The best part about it, like these older books, that have been aged and loved, is you can just tell that there's a story waiting there. Not just the story of the person currently holding it, but the story of how it got there, and that's pretty cool. I like it.
And the trade is I mean, Raws for graded. I mean, it's hard for me to trade, man. I haven't gotten too many good trades off. It's just I traded with the listener of the show, Ronald Phillips, a little while ago, but that was more of a finder's fee kind of trade because he found a collection for me to buy. But man, these are I still want to do something like this, man. So if anybody's out there that wants to trade me an AF-15 for some books, I'll figure it out somehow.
Yeah, you heard it here first, folks. If you want to get rid of a classic, just blue chip comic book Grail for whatever Jesus has in his pocket,
I have that poster.
He's willing to.
I have that poster ready to go.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm talking about the one with the Grail Trail, because we know that
that's the collector's item, really.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The recalled ones they're scarce. They're not uncirculated, right? Come on, man. At least one AF-15. It has to be worth at least one.
At least one.
So far, yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thanks again, Brett, for sending that in. We have got one more listener submitted Grail tale that we've got to get through. This one, funny story. So we got this. This comes from Eric. He is Secret Shodan Comics on Instagram. Another one, he reached out via Instagram because we had promoted that we were going to give away posters for the Grail Tales. So he had reached out and he was all excited. He's another listener. He listens to the show often, and he was excited to tell the story. And then it kind of went cold, and I hadn't heard from him. I was like, hey, wait a minute. Did you ever send that? Because he was going to ask for an email address to send it to. And he was like, no, I didn't. I was like, hey, we want to tell your story. Like, we're going to do an episode. We're going to record it. Can you send it to us? And he was like, oh, yeah, I'll write it up quick and send it. I mean, dude wrote pages. I mean that in a positive way, but I mean, for him to just whip this up, I feel like he had it pre-written somewhere. And we're just now benefiting from it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kick this one off, coming from Eric. Okay, so, hey guys, I appreciate the work you do on the show. I'm a weekly listener. Thank you very much, Eric, for doing that. And then he says, here goes nothing. Born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, I've been a comic collector on and off for almost my entire life. I have an older brother who always was collecting the cool titles and getting Wizard magazines monthly. He would get Amazing Spider-Man. I would get G.I. Joe Special Missions. Both great selections, guys. We had a number of comic shops my mom would take us to in Southeast Michigan. I was there for the Image boom. And remember it like it was yesterday. My New Mutants 100 seemed like such a big book until I got my Spawn 1, which seemed like a huge book at 11 years old. As times went on, I would drop out of comics and find the love for them again and drop out again a few times. You know, the in and out of comics, right? That's the way life goes. I got married, had kids, and introduced them to comics and superheroes. Fast forward to 2021. I've been on a break from reading and collecting for a few years. Again, oldest son, now 9, has become obsessed with YouTube videos about comics. He was so into it that he would start telling me all about the key issues, where first appearances were, and it fell in deep love with comic books, which I think is also cool. There's a little bit of that, like you fall in love with the history of comics while also reading the new stuff. That's fun. And so I was always a Daredevil or Batman guy. So naturally, his son fell in love with Deadpool. So at this time, I was never a fan of Deadpool. I have never collected him or read him, and honestly didn't enjoy what I knew about him. But I helped my son dig deeper and fell in love with the character. I even got him a slabbed X-Force 2 for his birthday, since it was the second appearance of Deadpool. That's a great gift, right? For a 9-year-old. 9, 10, I'm not, well, you know, he said birthday, so maybe he's 9 or 9. Anyway, so at the same time, my wife had convinced me we needed to sell our house, move into a small rental house, and seek out our dream house. As any smart husband would do, I said, okay, sure. And as we all know, when your dad or husband, as we all know, when you're the dad or husband, moving your family is the worst. I think Jesus and I can both attest to that, agree to that. But we did it. For 2 weeks straight after moving, I was moving our family's belongings into storage units. Not one, but yes, 2 storage units. I've lived that life myself personally. Once our house finally sold, it turned out to be a smart financial decision, as the market had flipped a little bit since we bought the house, and it was, now a seller's market. The day after we had closed on the house, took family trip, my wife, 4 kids, and myself, to the local LCS candy shop that my kids absolutely love. They keep the comics in the very back, so my oldest son and I made our way back there while everyone else looked at candy. Then his son saw it. On the back shelf at the very top was a CGC copy of New Mutants 98, my 9-year-old son's ultimate holy grail. This is a 9-year-old whose holy grail is a New Mutants 98. This kid's got good taste, everybody. I actually don't even own one of these books. I would love to own one. They tend to be fairly expensive. It had a large but fair price tag on it. He held it, admired it, and had the biggest smile on his face. I took a picture of him holding it so he could at least have that, since we weren't in the market to buy a Holy Grail at the time. The whole rest of the night, he kept saying, "I can't believe we held a New Mutants 98, Dad," that's a pretty cool feeling. The next day was a Monday, and I went to work and came home. And when I got home from work, there was a red plastic bag from the same LCS sitting on my bed. I opened it up, and there was the New Mutants 98 with a note that said, "Thank you for all the hard work, from my wife and kids." My wife and son had went back while I was working and bought the book. I was shocked and stoked beyond belief. And like I said before, I was never a Deadpool guy. It wasn't my Grail or the biggest book in my collection, but it's my favorite book I own now. This book will be a part of my collection until it is passed down to my children. I'm assuming the son. And thanks, guys. Eric Fortman. Now, I can see, Jesus, I can see you kind of with the tissue wiping the tear from your eye. That, it was a, good story, good setup, right? Like, you had to give it a little bit of history, right? Thank you for that, Eric. But man, he really kicked you in the emotional heartstrings at the end there, right? I was sort of like, oh man, choking up. What do you guys think? I did a lot of talking.
That was a Grail trail. That was a whole journey. That was a beginning, middle, and end with epilogue and everything.
Yeah,
it was.
That was awesome. Yeah,
it was emotional. The surprise of it, the Grail tale. We have people all the time like, I don't have anything important enough to tell you, or things like, people always are like, I don't have that thing. But then if you just start thinking about it, and they're like, oh, I don't have a book valuable enough. Yeah, it's, you know what? The value is not in how much you could get for it if you sold it on eBay. The value is in how much you have for that specific thing. And I can tell you right now that book is worth more to Eric than it's worth on eBay. It is worth significantly more, and it's because of the emotional attachment to it and the event how he got it. And that's what makes it a Grail. The first Deadpool is good. That's fairly Grail worthy.
Yeah, and especially with like the trajectory of that character in pop culture and kind of where it's still heading and stuff like that, and also like how it's going to be received years down the road as far as like the live action stuff and just how it came to be, right? Like getting leaked, a 12-minute intro getting leaked by Ryan Reynolds, stuff like that. But man, just comic books does this to us, man. Like, we just have so many stories that get told to us that have involved some sort of family, father and son, wife, spouse, significant other, that kind of helps out because it's our passion or it's something that we've always wanted. And we just, and that's one of those things too, where it's like, it's hard to buy stuff for yourself. At least for me, it is. And when somebody else gets that about you or understands that and they get that for you, which again, it was his son's, I guess, Grail for the most part, but in reality, like, he wants it for his son as well, as much as his son wants it, right? As a dad, you want to do that for your son too. So, I mean, just really cool Grail trail and Grail tale. We appreciate it for sending it in. Thank you so much, and we're glad we could share that with the rest of the spectators.
Absolutely. That I agree. Eric and Brett, both of you are going to be getting one of these wonderful posters along with some stickers. What are we sending them home with today, Jesus? Sorry, I got a little game show hosty there. But no, seriously, thank you very much for submitting those. I know we have a lot of fun, and clearly Jesus and I don't shy about saying how much we enjoy hanging out with creators like Mario and Philip Kennedy Johnson and Kieran Gillen and all the fun people we've talked to, especially recently. But I will reiterate, I seriously think my favorite episodes are the ones where we read listener submitted Grail Tales. I want to continue to do this, but the only way we can do that is through you, the listener, because they're not Jake and Jesus submitted Grail Tales, they're listener submitted Grail Tales. And so for 99 cents a day, you can put listeners. No, I'm just joking. But thank you very much. And yeah, you as well as a listener, if you have a Grail tale, you have a story you want to tell us, please do reach out. Like I said, we are giving away posters and stickers to anybody who wants to be brave enough to let us talk about their Grail tale on an episode. That's that though. We are now moving on to our final segment.
Speculation.
This is the speculation segment. Along with grails and things like that, we are always trying to achieve those grails, trying to obtain those grails. And sometimes you do that by selling a little portion of your collection through maybe speculation, maybe making a little bit of money off the hobby so it can pay for itself. That's what we're going to talk about right now. Jesus, do you have a speculation to talk about?
Yes, I only have one this week, but I think it's a pretty good one. And it's actually, I'm going to go back and I'll give credit where credit is due. So this is actually, technically a retread, but not, I guess, at the same time, because it's been so long. But Jake, you've talked about this book before.
Yep.
And the book that I'm talking about, I think you speculated on as well.
Probably.
Is
I mean, we've been doing this for 2 years. Like, we can't not retread on some.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and part of that too is the machine, right? What the big two, DC and Marvel, and what books hit some ebbs and flows, or highs and lows, or peaks and valleys because of whatever's been announced or whatever's coming out or whatever, right?
Yep.
But for me, and this is part of it too, I'm not saying it's not, but I just, since I didn't even know this book existed until you said it, and I looked it up and I was like, man, this is a really cool book. The cover just speaks to me. I'm talking about Marvel Team Up Annual #1, Spider-Man and the X-Men. So it's the second appearance of Jean Grey as Phoenix, the first Spider-Man teaming up with the X-Men, and the first meeting of Wolverine and Spider-Man. I say that for a couple reasons, right? One, like I mentioned, it's a dope cover. It's just a lot going on with it. It's yellow with black, Spider-Man on it. They're fighting something. I don't even know what it is. The X-Men and Spider-Man doing it together. But I also say it because, one, it's a square bound book, so it's kind of hard to get in higher grades. But then two, the last, like when Spider-Man was introduced in the MCU, he was introduced in Civil War?
In the MCU? Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and Civil War.
Captain America Civil War.
Yeah, Captain America Civil War. And that was basically an Avengers movie, right? Like, there was so many characters there, right? So I'm thinking, they're going to put Spider-Man in X-Men somehow, or they're going to put them together. Maybe he shows up in Deadpool with Wolverine to try to get him and Hugh Jackman on the screen together. I don't know, but I think it's going to happen. I think X-Men is the next team that's coming. We've seen the rumors about, getting pitches for what they want to do with the X-Men. They're coming, right? They're coming. Spider-Man is the biggest deal for MCU, even though Sony owns the rights to the live action stuff. They have a deal going together, but I think it's going to be an important book going forward. It's not going to get astronomical, but where it's at right now, you can get a decent copy of this book for, I don't know, $30, $40 right now. And I think when you were specking on it, it was like $10, $15. So it's slowly climbing. And as people realize what it is and how hard it is to get a higher grade, I think it'll go up a little bit. So Marvel Team Up Annual #1, the first team up between Spider-Man and X-Men. That's my speculation for this week.
Yeah, very, very nice. I like the book. I always have. I think it's just a fun one for the collection as well. Certainly not one that I think anybody would be upset that they have a copy of in the event speculation doesn't quite work out. But yeah, I think it's a good one. Mario, what are you thinking now?
I have a book that's not out yet. I think it's coming out in January. It is it's Somna, which is a brand new series from a new company called Distillery, which
Yes.
it's kind of like 2023 Image Comics with all these bigger creators leaving, Marvel, DC, and starting up their own thing.
Yeah.
And Somna is a witch story written and drawn both by Tula Lote and Becky Cloonan. I think it takes place in the 1600s. I think there's a lot of big things that Distillery's doing, but I think this will probably be the sleeper hit that catches on. Especially, knowing that, those two creators are just amazing. There's 6 different covers, I think, for Somna #1 that's available. Becky Cloonan, Tula Lote have one. Joel Jones, Jay Lee, I think, is doing one, but there's a special Tula one that's polybagged. So, it's hidden content. I think that's going to be the one that might be, like more sought after if it's not ordered as much.
Nice. And do you happen to know what the exact drop date is on this? Did you say it's January?
I see here
November 22nd.
Final order cutoff, which is a couple of days ago. Or no, it's 3 days from now. Jeez, I don't know what day it is. You guys put me on ice last time I was on this show, so I have no idea what date it is anymore. Yeah, so it's got to be coming up. If it's an August previews, it's got to be coming up.
It says November 22nd.
Probably next month. Yeah.
November 22nd is the release date?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a big book. It's 56 pages. It's $9, but you got to think of a $20 or a 20-page book is like $5.
Yeah.
Almost double that for just a little bit more. But yeah, these are 2 masters of the craft. They're doing some witchcraft stuff. I think that's pretty slick. I've known Tula for a very, very long time. I've worked with her a couple times too. She did a special cover for me for Kilchella. That's what I alluded to earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
It's always people that I work with. I'm trying to pick up them, right?
Yeah.
So I always support what she does, and this Barn Burners was going to be bigger. I think that was a Substack original that then went to was it Dark Horse? I'm not too sure. But that was with Scott Snyder. But yeah, this is something that she's behind the wheel, or behind the wheel at least. Yeah, I have to say, especially with a lot of witchcraft stuff picking up nowadays, that's probably something that's hitting right at the right time.
Yeah, I really like what I'm seeing out of Distillery so far. It is an interesting creator-owned, driven publisher, I guess. They're a publisher, right? Is the collective? Yeah, it's interesting and it's different, and it has people like Christian Ward and there's a lot of people involved. Ram V is also involved, and there's a lot of really cool books. I'm intrigued to see what they all come up with. I know I recently saw a book at my LCS, but it's an unconventional size, if I recall.
Yeah.
And that's
magazine sized. Yeah.
And that's interesting. And they're challenging some normal, conventional things in what they're doing. And I don't necessarily think that should put people off. I know sometimes it can, but I do think that people should take that risk, take a leap, go see if you like it. You never know. Nice. Well done. You have successfully speculated. I'm going to talk about something. I'm going to call it spec bait. We all know what this is. We all have dealt with spec bait, whether we know it or not. Sometimes it's like something hot like Spider Boy hitting the airwaves and everybody getting super excited, but then you get people really overpaying in such a short amount of time, right? People paying a lot of money to get a Spider Boy 1 or whatever it might be.
No comment, man.
Did you buy one?
I was on the other side. I saw Dan Slott's tweet about it, and I was telling my comic shop, I was like, let me get 3 of those. And I flipped them.
Hey,
Oh,
no,
no
hey,
shame in that. Yeah.
I am not opposed to it per se. I guess what I'm saying though is, where is that book now? Right? You are using the information to flip the book up front, which is the way to make money and help the hobby pay for itself. Absolutely. But there are things that I think are somewhat spec bait. Spider-Boy being one. You gave me a curious look. That's why I called you out on that, Mario. Sorry. But the most recent the Spider-Boy spec bait that I'm seeing sweeping the country, by the way, is X-Men 130. And this is the first appearance of Dazzler. Does anybody here know why Dazzler suddenly became very popular? Everybody listening probably knows. If you're listening and you don't know,
Travis Kelce.
Jesus, what happened?
Travis Kelce said he wants to be Dazzler in the next Superman movie. That's what
No. You're confusing it. Travis Kelce said
documentary.
Travis Kelce said he wanted a bedazzler. He wanted a bedazzler, not to be Dazzler.
Okay.
However, Travis Kelce was playing a football game. Wow, we brought up football twice in one podcast. People are going nuts right now. So Travis Kelce, he is playing football for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he is acquaintances with one Taylor Swift. And then Taylor Swift has been going to see his football games, and she showed up at the New York Giants game. Mario, that's your favorite team, right? The Giants? Anyway.
Funny man. You're funny.
And Taylor Swift showed up with Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and Sam Levis. How do you say his name? Sam, the director of Deadpool 3. And everybody said, holy crap, Taylor Swift is going to be the Dazzler in Deadpool 3. This I'm going to tell you right now, it probably will come true. But the prices for X-Men 30 have already skyrocketed. The flipping to be done is happening right now. If you have the book in your closet and you want to make some money off of it, Taylor Swift fans are going bananas. So just you can flip it. But if you are like, hey, I'm going to buy that book right now and go resell it to Taylor Swift fans when the book comes out or when the movie comes out, I think you're too late. I think the boat has been missed at that point. And right now, to me, the buyers, the people who are buying, are susceptible to spec bait. And the worst case scenario, honestly, is Taylor Swift was just she was just like fan service, right? And she was just teasing the Marvel collectors. And she's not in it at all. Or she's in it for like 2 seconds, because look what happens in all these Deadpool movies. They brag about a character coming in, and then it turns out to be Brad Pitt as the Invisible Man, and he dies hitting an electrical wire, and he's in there for less than a second.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're known to troll. They're known to troll, but go ahead, continue.
Deadpool, known to troll. So it's... I call it spec bait just because it seems like everybody is congregating in this area, and I feel like, man, if you already own the book, you could sell it now, and you're helping the hobby pay for itself. But if I were to come on and tell you that this is a speculation book, I feel like I would be doing a disservice to our listeners, because I feel like the spec was like 6 months ago, honestly. But now it's not.
Dude, and even when you say spec 6 months ago, it's not what it is now, right? Like, obviously, like, you shouldn't be. I mean, you can do what you want if it's going to be a book that you keep for your collection and you're not worried about the price going down. I think the price will go down on it eventually. But I mean, this book was a nothing book, right? Like, it was just it's an okay book. It's nothing crazy. And then when these rumors started flying, and then now this happens, it goes to the moon, and it's like, I mean, like you said, seriously, how much of a role can she have in this movie? Right, she's not
going forward, right?
Yeah, like
this is a cameo.
It's not sustainable to go forward with her as a leading character. So, Yeah, I mean, like you said, if you have this book, if you've had it in your closet or in your boxes, you might not even know you have it because again, it was, not the biggest book out there. Dazzler was not the biggest character out there that people loved. She wasn't like a Harley Quinn or anything like that. I mean, if it doesn't mean anything to you, go ahead, man. Sell it to somebody that really likes Taylor Swift, and then use it to get some of the books that you really want. But that's a good one, Jake. That's actually a really, really good one. I'm going to award you 53.5 tots right now.
Oh, I have never received so many tots.
Out of 1,000. Out of 1,000. Out of 1,000.
Okay. I don't know about you, but I like dipping tater tots in ketchup.
Ketchup?
Yeah. What's that, Gary Busey? Let's talk about honey. I kiss it on the lips. Have you guys seen that Gary Busey clip? It's so funny. Anyway, it has nothing to do with that. I'm going to cut that out. None of the listeners will hear that. All right.
Keep it in. Keep this in, too.
We have gotten to the end of the episode, and we have completed it. And I believe Mario is the winner of the overall winner because he was he had the best. Well, he won the opening segment for recent pickups. And then as a guest host, the first guest host to ever, Lovesick, love the cover. First guest host to ever read a listener submitted Grail tale. I don't know, dude, you must be like walking on cloud 9. I don't know how you're going to fall asleep tonight. You're going to have the jitters.
I'm going to take some Robitussin and just see what happens.
Hey, but it's also cool, right? Like going for Brett as well to have Mario read his Grail tale. I think that's pretty dope.
Oh yeah,
Who is this guy?
Yeah. Well, if Brett hasn't listened to your original episode from September 28th, 2022, he can certainly go back. He can travel back in time to a time when you were a guest on this show and not a seasoned veteran. But
let me do it again. Let me, have a contest. First place, I get to read someone's, tale. Second place, I get to read 2 of them. So,
yeah. Hey, I'm down. You're down. We're all down. This sounds like this is something we're gonna have to revisit. You can be an official guest host, an official regular recurring guest host.
He's the ringer.
I don't know.
Bring in the lefty.
Yeah, bring in the lefty.
Just let me do pre-recorded. Just send me a bunch of them, and I just see you like doing cameos and just walking down the street like this.
Mario will read your Grail tale from his LCS. But thank you, Mario, for joining us. This was really fun. We appreciate you. You didn't know exactly what you were getting yourself into, but we appreciate you joining us.
No, I appreciate you. Inviting me, reaching out, of course. I'm just sitting here watching football, really, and it's like no teams I cheer for, one team I root against actively. So, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing I'm going to remind everybody of, we said it earlier, and that is that we are going to be at the Dallas Fan Festival October 20th through 22nd, 2023, this year. From when this episode drops, it's like within a week and a half. Jesus are going to be live, in person, real humans. I know we have a lot of Texas listeners, not everybody, but we have a lot of listeners. And we just want to let you all know, if you're going to be there, or you just have you're like, oh, hey, I can drive an hour to get there, or whatever it is. If you're going to be there, we're going to be there. We are going to be giving out some stickers. We have 2 new JJ stickers coming out. We haven't announced yet, but we are going to have them at the festival. The other thing that we are going to have now, if you are a Spectales patron, you already have one of these or are getting one in the mail. Check your mailboxes, everybody. Guido, I'm talking to you. But these are Spectales posters. This is different from the one before. This is a Spectales poster that is a recreation of the Creepy Magazine #1. We have talked about this a little bit before. We have shown this on our Instagram. The Elliott Comic Art did the artwork. It is a bunch of basically rotten tater tots on it. JJ's. All looking like monsters, but it says Spectails, but we're going to actually have a few of these to give away at the show itself. And I was thinking, like, I don't know if it's of any value to anybody else out there, but Jesus, we could like number and sign a couple of these. I bet like that we could make these even more scarce than they already are by numbering them and signing. We've got a few.
Look, I've had requests. There's a possibility I could put some beard on the posters. I don't want to get ahead of myself.
We're gonna take some Scotch tape and we're gonna put beard on these posters. Nobody wants your DNA. Anyway, these posters, stickers. We're gonna be walking around. Maybe we'll be collecting some con submitted Grail tales as well. I don't know. Either way, we will be on the Grail Trail searching for listeners out there. And if you're in or around the area, please come out and find us, see us, reach out to us on social media. Let us know you're going to be there. We would love to talk to any and everybody. Just talk to us. Please, somebody talk to me.
Help me welcome Jake to the great state of Texas. Help me.
I mean, I've been there before, but yeah, no.
It was the first time because you're going to be there with me, so.
But yeah, exactly. All right, we did it. It's official. We've done another episode. Thank you, everybody. Next week we have Joshua Hickson coming on. Josh is the artist responsible for the upcoming horror series, The Deviant, with James Tynion IV. Josh is an incredible artist. The artwork on it, he also did the plot, which we've highly recommended on this show before. So we're very excited about talking to him, and we will catch you all next week. See you later.